It's simple. One start, one finish. One route around the world. Non-stop. Alone for 24,000 miles. This might be the easiest yacht race in the world to explain, but the truth is that when it comes to doing it, the Vendée Globe is the toughest. Even for the most experienced offshore sailors, this is the big one. One of the 40 skippers to be taking part in this race is Sam Goodchild. He was the 2023 IMOCA champion, but this will be his first Vendée Globe. And with a few weeks to go, I caught up with him to find out how his preparations were going. Good to see you, Sam. The last time we saw you, you didn't have a mast. That was quite a while ago now. Obviously not the way you wanted to come back across the Atlantic. What have you been up to since then?
Yeah, that was time flies, doesn't it? It feels like ages ago now, but it was only 2 or 3 months ago. So yeah, we had a fairly busy summer. The boat was going into refit anyway, so we managed to kind of sort out the timings of things, so we didn't actually lose too much sailing. The boat came out the water a couple of weeks earlier than we planned to, and it went back in the water 10 days earlier than we planned to. So we kind of got back that sailing time at the end of the summer. We were pretty fortunate. We've got a brand new mast as well. So there was another IMOCA in build with Armel Tripot, who had his mast ready, but the boat wasn't. And he very kindly said, well, you can have my mast and I'll have the next one. Which, for the little story, 2 years ago when he was preparing the route to Rome in the Ocean 50 class, he capsized, broke his mast, and we lent him our spare mast so that he could carry on sailing and training. So it was nice to be able to return the favour a couple of years later.
And I guess you can do that because all the masts are one design masts anyway.
Yeah, so in the IMOCA class for almost 10 years now, it's all been one design, so all the masts are identical. There's been a few mods to them, but yeah, it's all plug and play, and the deck spreaders actually go into the mast base, so there's no geometry on the boat. There's a few cables which are a bit of slightly different lengths, but yeah, it's all pretty well one design, so it was fairly easy, and we were fairly fortunate about that. Yeah.
And did you find out what was the cause? Why did it come down in the first place?
Not 100%. We obviously got some theories, but we didn't find anything that was broken, and we didn't find anything in the data which gave any clues away, like a full stay going and then the rest following. It seemed to all go at once. So we got some theories about what it could be, but it's hard to say exactly what it was. There's 2 or 3 dismastings in the IMOCA class that have been like that. So it's yeah, it's hard really to put your finger on the actual reason, but you try and protect yourself against all the possible theories and go from there.
Yeah. And so you put a new mast in, and what have you been up to since then? You got back on the water, and you said you did some more sailing, more testing. What have you been up to?
Yes, we went back in the water around the 20th of August. We had a few measurement tests which take a bit of time, and then we've been training with Paul Laforet in the Pole Finisterre training camp. So we've had a couple sessions with them. Then we had the Défi Azimut, which is a week-long event here in Lorient. I mean, it's primarily taking partners and sponsors sailing, because there's a round the island race day, the island of Goire off Lorient. There's a runs day where you just do speed runs on one jibe with a start line and a finish line. But in the middle, there's a 48-hour single-handed offshore course, which is kind of basically our last lineup before the Vendée. It's not at all the same type of sailing, but it's good to line up in race mode with the foils, with the sails, with the boat, with everything in Vendée Globe mode, and just have a kind of a last rundown of that before the next time. The next start line we'll cross will be the Vendée Globe one. So yeah, it's been busy, and it's getting busier, but not complaining.
And I guess sort of back in the day, so to speak, I mean, provisioning and stocking the boat and getting it ready for a trip like that was quite a major thing. But I suppose nowadays it's a standard plan, I guess. It's I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't take time to do it, but it's not really you're going down a list and ticking it off, and everybody knows what you need.
Yeah, I mean, it's very organised now. There's a lot of us to start with, so everyone's got their job, and there's someone that looks after the provisioning, so that in one way simplifies things, and lists are made and checked by 5 people, and and then agreed on. So yeah, it's a little bit going down the list. That said, it's still 80 days at sea. It's 80 days not like the ocean race or other round the world races. You're not allowed to stop for help. You can't stop in South Africa and fix something and carry on again. You're allowed to phone a friend and say, how do I fix this? But you're not allowed any physical outside assistance. So you have to think fairly long and hard about what you take with you, which obviously has an impact on weight and then performance. So it depends on what your ambitions are, and yeah, there's quite a few things to do like that. But yeah, the big difference is we're going for 80 days, which basically you do once every 4 years and no other time really in any other sailing. And you're not allowed to stop to go pick up a toothbrush in Australia because you forgot yours. So yeah, you have to think a little bit about what possibly could happen and be ready for anything.
Now, looking at the fleet, you gave us the last time we spoke, you gave us a really good rundown as to an overall view as to the pecking order and the various groups. Has that changed? Give us a feel for what it looks like now. Who are the front runners?
I can't remember exactly what I said last time, but I mean, for
Probably
me,
just
it's basically yeah, exactly. There's basically four favourites who are experienced sailors with good boats and in really good position to win the race. So that's Thomas Rion, who I sail with or work with, Charlie Dallin, Jeremy Bayou, and Johan Richomme. Johan Richomme actually being a rookie, but he's obviously got a new boat and he's won the Route de Rome a couple of times on Solitaire de Figaro. No one's taking him lightly as a competitor. And then there's probably about 10 of us between Boris Herman and Sam Davies, myself, Justine Metro. I won't list them all, but that kind of profile. Yannick Besteven, who won the last race, who were kind of in decent boats.
Do you think that the game has closed up as well? Have people, are the relative performances spread out as people have sort of learned more about their boats, or is it concentrating into potentially an even tighter race?
It's hard to say really. 'Cause, I mean, the Vendée Globe is so specific. There's obviously technical issues that come into that. There's when you push, how you push, that comes into that. There's weather scenarios. I mean, if you look at Massif, which is the newest boat from Guillaume Verdier, it's pretty powerful. He's got massive sail area. Charlie on his boat. He's kind of gone for I want to be the first to off Brazil, get the first depression into the south, and leave everyone in my wake. Then you've got the Melisias and the Tomarions and the new Anton Koch boats are a little bit more, they want to go fast in bad weather and have a boat which is a bit more of a comfortable ride, so less stress on the boat, less breakages and higher average speeds, but they'll struggle in the medium flat water stuff compared to Massif. So there are some, I mean, that's a little bit of what the Vendée Globe's got for us and got for everyone. Kind of, it's hard to really say beforehand. And if you look at the last Vendée Globe, basically the top 10 boats, all of them found themselves parked together in the North Atlantic on the way home, and it all ended up as a sprint to the finish. So, and if you look at the Vendée Globe before that, the two boats escaped and had a week's advantage in the Southern Ocean, and basically no one ever saw them again. So it depends a little bit on timing and how the race plans out. But it's going to be an interesting one to follow, that's for sure, with 40 boats.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I just wonder when you're sort of describing that, whether the sort of not even the advent, the development of foiling and the way that that's changed the performance profile of boats, has that opened up the game, or has it concentrated people's minds, made more of a focus on? I mean, in the past, we used to talk about one of the reasons that the foils were a potential benefit was getting through the light patch, getting through the doldrums out the other side. But we know I mean, that's still the case, but the foils are capable of more than that. So do you think it's opened up the possibilities, or is it concentrated where people are focusing?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, definitely we've converged towards something also with the Classe Mocha rule, which has limited the power of the foils. Basically, a surface area multiplied by distance from the centre line, so basically limiting the power of the foils. So that's, I mean, there's different logic of foil, but that's kind of limited the game a little bit, in a good way. And arguably one of the biggest developments from the last addition to this one is the hull shapes, especially on the Antoine Koch and the VPLP Malaysia boat, and going through sea state, where I think their experience in the last Vendée Globe was in the Indian. Basically, everyone was going 15, 16 knots, which it's basically the same speed you go in the Class 40, because they just couldn't go through sea state. So there's a few people that have tried to get around that problem, and then relying more on the foil for more power, but which obviously means you need to go faster to get the foil working. So it's hard to say whether it's concentrated things, but it's or whether it's, yeah, it depends on what angle you look at it from. But it's, yeah, I mean, it's what I see now is basically it depends a lot on what the weather of the Vendée Globe is going to give us. And on top of that, all the technical issues and even just the mental issues of who manages to be in the right mental state, the right time to push to get a breakaway. Like there's so many things that come into play in a Vendée Globe that it's hard just to look at on the paper who's fastest is the guy that's going to win, sort of thing.
Yeah, and the double transatlantic was, we know, quite an unusual set of races, and Boris did really well, and it was breezy, and Boris seemed to prove on both of those legs that actually his boat was rock solid in a lot of breeze, lights a lot of breeze. Does that change people's thinking at all, or was it far too late to change anyway, even if you wanted to go for a chunkier, more heavy weather optimized boat?
I mean, it's definitely too late, but I think it's definitely changed the thought process in terms of when Boris put his boat in the water, what, 2 years ago now. There was a lot of he's gone very hard on the comfort. It looks like they call the boat a caravan, or it looks like it's a bit comfortable. But definitely, I mean, he's optimized that boat massively, and he's going faster and faster, as we saw with is it 2 second places in those 2 transats. And I think the other thing which has changed thoughts as well is his program, in terms of he's already sailed around the world on that boat in the ocean race. And he's the only one on the start line who would have done that, because Holcim PRB has had a skipper change. 11th Hour, which won the ocean race, has had a skipper change. Guyot Environment, they had a few issues around the world. And Biotherm with Paul is in that situation as well, but with an older design boat. But it's definitely, I mean, if you look at how Boris's learning curve has gone, preparing for Vendée Globe, it's huge. He basically did the route to run with I just need to finish approach. The ocean race, he was learning loads, sailing fully crewed with a bunch of sailors on board, and he's now attacking the Vendée Globe, kind of, whether he's at his peak or whether he's further down the learning or up the learning curve anyway, it definitely is turning a few heads and making people think about how to prepare for the next race.
Interesting, fascinating stuff. Well, there's so much to talk about, so little time, but there we go. Thanks very much indeed, and the absolute best of luck, Sam. I look forward to catching up with you down in Les Sables if I can squeeze in there somehow, because I know it's going to be really busy. But yeah, best of luck with it, and we look forward to seeing how you get on.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Good to chat, and I'll see you in the Sab.